Good afternoon, everyone. In the month of August of 2024, after being chosen by the voters of the city of St. Louis as their next sheriff, I have been called many names, starting with the former sheriff who called me a monkey on his last day in office, urging local media outlets to pay close attention in the future and promising to make my term as hard as possible to carry out. Earlier today, Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey issued a public demand for my resignation by noon tomorrow. Not based on proven facts, not based on any court ruling, but on what's been described as widely published and disturbing allegations. Let me be very clear, that I will not resign. I was elected by the people of the city of St. Louis to serve as their sheriff, and I intend to honor that commitment. I welcome any lawful investigation or inquiry rooted in truth, but I will not stand by while this office is attacked in the press with false claims and reckless accusations. Under my leadership, within just 6 months in this office, we have delivered real results. For the first time in over a decade, every deputy have received a significant raise because they deserve to be paid like every other law enforcement professional they are. We are fully staffed, again for the first time in decades, within the first 6 months. We have invested more into this department than any administration in the past 25 years. I ran for this position to protect the courts, serve our city, and lead with accountability and pride. I know that progress makes some people uncomfortable, and I understand that. That comes with the leadership. But let's be very clear. I have not been found guilty of any wrongdoing, and I will not be removed from this office. I will not run from this office. I will continue to serve the people of this city, and I will continue to do my duties as the sheriff in protecting the courts. Thank you.
Sheriff, would you leave the office?
No, that's I mean, obviously you can, any reporter who wants to just leave, you obviously have the right to just leave at any time you want to. Excuse me for a moment. However, as you are all very much aware, the allegations made by Attorney General Bailey are legal in nature and therefore require certain responses, which I personally would not expect the sheriff to always be able to answer. But I'm here to give you some documents and things like that that you can, why don't you pass this around to reporters for me, that you can have to look at that are going to be in response to some of the issues that have been raised. And I also want to give you, let's see, it's going to be the top page of this budget right here. You can go ahead and hand that out. I appreciate it. Now, let's deal with a couple of things first. The allegation that the medical transport of individuals who have been held in prison pending trial, or they're being held in prison to serve a less than 1 year sentence in what's called the medium security institution under the law of the state of Missouri. Those individuals are exclusively, entirely, and legally in the custody of the Criminal Justice Center under the city's Department of Public Safety. Now, what does the law say then about the medical care of such individuals? Because this has been litigated a lot. In fact, I had to litigate this on behalf of the Department of Corrections very often as an Assistant Attorney General. I can tell you specifically that the law says the party that has custody of any prisoners has the legal constitutional responsibility under the 8th Amendment to provide them adequate and timely medical care. That includes transporting them so they get the medical care. So that is the responsibility of the city. That is the legal responsibility, and quite frankly, I don't think the Attorney General is going to deny it, because he's had people who've had to litigate that more than once. And Attorney General Bailey is a very smart guy. I actually kind of like the guy, to be honest with you. And I think he's trying to do a very effective job as Attorney General. But let me tell you a little about law, all right? Allegations and things made in newspapers are meaningless in court. In fact, the allegations that many of you have reported will never hit the floor in the courtroom. Never. You must have proof. Who said it? Who saw it? Who has personal and direct knowledge? Where's the paperwork? And everybody's going to be subject to cross-examination. That I can assure you. I can assure you of that. And the truth will come out. And what will the truth show? The truth will show that, number one, we've never actually refused to transport anyone. We have tried, under the circumstances available to us, to take care of as many detainees as our staff and our availability of staff allows. The sheriff of the city of St. Louis welcomes the opportunity to take the lead in transporting individuals to their mental or medical health care, provided that the bodies, meaning the staff to do it, are appropriately financed. Now, when we had the last administration, they took positions away from these courthouses that you're seeing right now in order to do transport. Why, I don't know. I wasn't a part of that. But I can tell you that the judges were very concerned about the lack of full security here in these court buildings, including the juvenile court. And this sheriff ran on a program of making sure that the two buildings here downtown and the juvenile courts were appropriately staffed with security. He is meeting that responsibility because that's in the statute. That's what he has to do. And he's meeting that responsibility. Transporting individuals for medical care or health care is at best a courtesy that had been given to the city, unfortunately at the price of building security.
Hey, Judge,
I don't know why. Hold your question, because
just quickly, wouldn't this be more effective if the sheriff himself answered these questions with you at his
And
side, as opposed to you?
that's a very, very good question to ask. However, I think that it would be unfair to expect the sheriff to understand the legal ins and outs of these issues. And I've litigated them considerably. It has a lot to do with why I'm here. And I'm here to tell you that I am not speaking on his behalf except upon matters of which I'm authorized to do. And I'm authorized to tell you and every other reporter here that the sheriff of the city of St. Louis stands ready to work with the city in any matter that works in order to make sure that these detainees get their constitutionally required and reasonably available health care. Now, if in fact the city wants us to do it, and let me say up front, it would be a good idea for the city to decide that there should be a jail unit in the sheriff's office that handles this. Why? Because of the training that the sheriffs get. That would be a good idea, but it has to be funded. Now, we are aware, and this is the second piece of paper that I've given you, where there are positions available within the city that they need only transfer the FTEs to the sheriff. For example, you'll see here, and it's hard for me to read it completely, correctional officers 2, 25 positions, and these are CJC officers, 25 positions funded, only 11 filled. You go a couple lines below that, correctional officer 1, 133 funded, only 79 filled. Well, why don't you shift those unfilled positions, which are funded, to the sheriff's office? Now, let me tell you why that's a good idea. Because we have a whole stack of people who want to work for the sheriff, We have all of these standards that we put people through for effective training. We are particularly going to make sure that if we are allowed to bring in some people that will allow us, new people, that will allow us to take older people and transfer them to medical transport, then the medical transport team will be ready to go, trained, and will have the skill to provide safety and security, not only in terms of maintaining the security, don't drop your hand, not only maintaining the security of the people being transported, because people try to escape all the time when they're being transported, but also to assure the hospitals that they have the security that they want to have for their staff and their patients by having people like this gentleman in there with those offenders. Mr. Amalati, go.
Sir, is it your understanding that the sheriff's office the sheriff is being asked to resign by the AG strictly about the letter and threatening to end medical transport? Or does this also include other matters like authorizing a deputy to arrest an acting jail commissioner, the rolling the dice incident? Is this just about
now, I think you're raising some very good questions. I'd raise them too. With respect to issues where there are lawsuits pending, the city's council's office is handling that, all right? I'm not handling that.
So then, would this be the situation with the sheriff to speak on? Because right now there's not litigation?
When it comes to little matters of litigation like what you're talking about, the sheriff got enough sense to realize that he cannot submit to a deposition by news media, okay? And that's not going to happen. You wouldn't do it, none of you would do it, and quite frankly, I don't know why you would expect it. Those particular cases are going to be handled to the due process that occurs. I'm talking about this whole quo warranto issue, all right? That's a whole other ball game. Yes, Mr. Hayes.
You're going to have to hire private counsel to fight this, and what could that cost taxpayers?
Say that loud again.
Is the sheriff going to have to hire private counsel to fight this, and what could that cost taxpayers?
I am hoping that the city council's office can effectively handle the representation. Obviously, I'm going to do as much as I can where necessary, and as you well know, my salary is $15,000 a year, so yes, I've already earned that. So I'm going to be doing a lot of work and being significantly underpaid if necessary, but I tell you one thing, I am committed to my client.
You think you can fight this?
If I have to, I will, because I know how to.
And you believe in it?
Oh yes. Oh yes. I think I told you once before, if I didn't believe in what the sheriff was doing, I wouldn't be here. And when I look at what that quo warranto is alleging, yeah, I'm fine with defending that one. I called the Attorney General's office today and told them, we are going to be seeking some discovery from them. Who knows it? When did they know it? What did they say? We want to have the facts, the actual evidence with these matters. And yes, we need to try it in court. We'll try it in court. That's just the bottom line. I'm sorry for a minute. I'm sorry. You had your hand up. Go ahead.
You've now said several times that the sheriff should be expected to A, understand, and B, explain what his job responsibilities are. Should people expect more from their elected officials than that?
No more than they would expect from your editor-in-chief. Because if your newspaper got sued, your lawyers would tell the editor-in-chief, don't talk about that stuff to the media. Let us handle it. That's our job. Because law can be complicated. I don't care how simple this quo warranto is made to look like in the media, it is not that simple. It is complicated to try to remove an elected official on those kinds of allegations. And yes, I've taught people for many, many years to learn how to put people to their proof in court. I know how to do it. I will do it if I'm called upon to do so. But that has to happen. And it cannot happen by the sheriff trying to litigate it in front of you. I understand your questions. I was a journalist. I did a lot of journalism in college. I get it. I'd ask the same questions. You got to dig. That's what you got to do. I'm trying to help you understand that this isn't evasion. This is him simply trying to do the wise thing given the nature of litigation he's facing. And I would most certainly advise him to do so.
Judge, you've been passing out these budget documents from the city.
Exactly.
And you're repeating some of the different arguments he made at the budget committee. But if the sheriff can't manage
his own budget. Isn't it arrogant to tell the city how to run theirs?
Well, first off, the sheriff can manage his budget, and he manages it just fine. If you want to blow his budget, make him take on responsibilities that he hasn't staff to take on. Now, that would blow his budget, but he's managing his budget just fine.
But Judge,
These
more
are,
than $400,000 of that blown budget, that's what he's doing by terminating more than a dozen employees the first week he showed up.
are you talking about employees who, when they left, they claimed the right to their compensatory time and their vacation time, things like that? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, that's part of it. It was 17 employees. Alderman Matt voted question on it. More than $400,000 in employees.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't care what institution that exists. If people have a right to vacation time and compensatory time, and they're let go, then yes, they expect to be paid for that. That's reasonable. Any one of you would do it. That's just kind of the way life works. And so, yeah, that had to be paid, and it was paid.
Judge, Attorney General Andrew Bailey told me.
Hold on, he hasn't answered, but I'm coming back to you. Go.
Attorney General Andrew Bailey told me the most prominent concern that he has was the sheriff making arrests, handcuffing people, and interfering with the administration of justice, referring to the arrest and detention of Tammy when she was the deputy commissioner of the city justice center. Sheriff Montgomery said that these are all false allegations. Is he denying that?
Now let's make something perfectly clear. The word arrest has significant legal meaning. Okay? An arrest did not occur. What occurred, however, was apparently a momentary detention in order to carry through something. All right. Now the details of that are going to be worked out, obviously, in a particular case. But you have an arrest is you're under arrest for this crime. You have a right to remain silent. That's an arrest. The law separates that completely. And if you read any cases, ask your own attorneys for your news organization. They'll look it up, they will tell you detaining and arrest, two different things. So let's not overstate the case. Now, whether or not detention was legal is for a court that I'm not dealing with. There are facts that did or did not occur, and what those facts mean is going to be a matter for a judge, quite frankly. And I'm not going to try to step into the place of any one of my former colleagues on that issue. Yes.
So the reason I asked about the budget is because when he was running for this job, he said it was understaffed, people were underpaid. He gets in the job and he says, we're fully staffed. We hired more people. So something doesn't add up. How can he not deliver on a job that Vernon Betts could do if he has more people to do it?
Well, let me look at your question. He said understaffed and underpaid. That was true. He comes in and he makes sure the courts, which are where you're supposed to go, are effectively staffed, and then he asks his senior people to take pay cuts so that he could give a reasonable salary to the deputies down the line. Now, those are the facts of what happened.
So he created the problem, is what you're saying?
No, he walked into the problem. When he walked into the problem, it was understaffed and underpaid. He then sought to resolve the problem by making sure that the essential duties of the sheriff, protecting these two buildings and the juvenile courts, that those two responsibilities were met, and he asked his senior staff to take cuts in pay so that he can get the pay up for those folks at the bottom. Now that's, I don't know, maybe I'm speaking out loud here, but that strikes me like good leadership, but how does that strike you?
Well, you also said that he's confident that this is not his job to transport sick detainees. It's the city's job, but before the board, the budget committee, the sheriff said that he could benefit from some instruction and clarification from the board on his duties. So which is it?
Oh, there's nothing wrong with having some clarification. In fact, I think Board Bill 33 is an attempt by Alderman Devotee to try to provide clarification. The problem with the bill is you can't take the legal responsibility of the city and shift it and then not fund it, because it's still the legal responsibility of the city. It's okay. No, it's okay if a jail unit meaning a unit of sheriffs who do the transport, things like that, it's okay if there's a jail unit in the sheriff's department as long as it's effectively funded. See, there's a certain amount of money for salaries and positions that has been met, and we are fully staffed. This whole thing of transporting inmates for purposes of medical care and health care, that's a different place. And it would be great, like I said before, it would be great if the city would shift some of these already funded FTEs over to the sheriff's office, and bam, problem solved. Or they could fill these open FTEs with some staff to do transport under the CJC. You know, problem still solved. But I think a more effective solution, to be perfectly frank with you, is if the FTEs were shifted to the sheriff, and then the sheriff could then take care of it right then and there.
Judge, time running out. Looking at a deadline by the Attorney General, Sheriff says he's not stepping down. So what message do you have for the Attorney General?
Well, you know, the Attorney General has to do what he sincerely believes is the honest thing he should do as an attorney. So if he's going to file, he's going to file, and then we'll respond. That's how litigation works. I mean, there's, you know, a quo warranto doesn't take effect like the day it's filed. You know, we have to go through, you know, due process. We have to go through discovery. There are going to be depositions. We're going to figure out what's what and who's who. Personally, I'm concerned that there may not be anything at the end of the rainbow on this, but quite frankly, I have spent my life watching due process carry through. I spent the other portion of my life effectuating that due process as a trial attorney. I have no problem doing it now.
Do you think the sheriff will ultimately be forced out?
No. I can look you in the face and say, no, I do not. At least not based on what I've seen. Now, if there's some, and say discovery, well, if there's some nice, interesting, hidden information that we're not aware of, we're going to find out about it without question. But as things now stand, there's no basis. And if you just think about what's in the letter, ask yourself, it's not as journalists, as citizens, is that enough to throw people out of office? Because quite frankly, I can have people make allegations to you guys about any public official, and then you could print the allegations or broadcast the allegations, and what, that's enough to throw somebody out of office? Of course not. That's why we have due process. That's why we have due process of law, courts, in witness examination, judges presiding over these things. These are the kinds of things that have to happen.
Judge, do you think the sheriff is doing an adequate job of meeting all of the requirements of his office?
Without question.
If he has to go through this process, you know, due process throughout office, I mean, do you think that'll distract him from all the daily duties that he has to do then?
No, because he won't have to be involved until it's time for him to testify or be deposed. Other issues will be other people involved, paperwork is changed, depositions done, you know, interrogatories, all kinds of things have to be changed. For example, you know, we want to know, what is the proof? What is the proof and where is it? You know, some of you old enough remember that old Wendy's commercial where it said, where's the beef? Well, you know, we want to know where's the beef. That's all, where's the beef? So we can take a look and see if there's a case that's actually there. Right now, I'm not seeing any beef. In fact, I'm not even seeing tomatoes and cheese. Go ahead.
Would your job be easier if he hadn't had Miss Ross put in handcuffs?
That's an interesting question, counselor. I honestly can't give you an answer to that because fortunately, I'm not handling the defense on that. I see where you're going. I see where you're going. And to be perfectly frank with you, that is not my place to speak of.
Do you think he regrets that?
Sir?
Do you think he regrets that?
Do I think he would what?
Do you think he regrets that? He's not here to answer questions. Do you think he regrets that action?
Oh, I can't get in his head on that. I don't know if he regrets that or not. And I don't think it's even his place to tell me on that one. So I'm sorry, I don't know if he regrets it. I will tell him that that's a press question that you have. Leave me your card. If he feels like he can answer it, I'm sure he'll consult with the attorneys and he'll answer it. And I know when people say leave me your card, you've had people pulling your chain. Some of you have my phone number. You know I've answered my phone. I've gotten back to you. I'm not playing games with you. I'll tell him you want to answer to that question, all right? And if he and his attorneys feel like he can answer it, he or Jake or myself, we're going to call you and you'll have an answer, okay? I just don't know if how he feels on that one. Sorry, I wish I could help you there. Go ahead.
Judge, the Attorney General told me that they have the evidence to move forward now and that they expect to ask the judge to expedite this process. So does that change your perspective?
Well, I know one thing.
Yeah.
I know one thing, that no judge is going to expedite this process and run over due process, all right? I mean, we need time to depose and see what's what and who's who. Now, I haven't seen affidavit the first to show that there's any direct witness. Hearsay is not going to get it. Hearsay doesn't get it. You have to, if you don't have a tangible basis for the admissibility of an out-of-court statement, and I don't want to give you too much law, it ain't coming in. So we need to know who knows what, how do they know what, and we need to be able to depose them. So I can't imagine if some judge rushes this through, you guys need to question that. I'm gonna tell you that straight up. Anything else?
Just to be clear, what your official capacity with the office?
I'm the sheriff's attorney, which is the lowest paid position in the office.
Are you his personal attorney or attorney?
No, I'm the sheriff. It kind of can be one and the same with these issues, but technically speaking, I'm the sheriff's attorney. He is the sheriff, therefore I'm his attorney. And in 1930, sir?
You were paid for by the city or by the sheriff?
I'm assuming it comes out of the city budget. In 1939, they declared that the sheriff's attorney should have a salary of $15,000 a year. That statute hasn't changed, but that's what the city pays for the sheriff's attorney. 1939, that was probably a pretty decent yearly salary. Today, you talk about being overworked and underpaid, and I'm the poster child for that, but I don't mind, because I took this on, and I accept the responsibility, and I'm going to carry through on my responsibility, yes, sir.
Of course, you have relationships with the judges in these buildings.
Well, I've worked with so many of them, yes, of course.
Does the sheriff enjoy the confidence of the judiciary?
I think that at this point in time, that's a developing relationship. I'll put to you this way. I know the judges want to be able to have confidence that the safety and security of the buildings where they serve and jurors serve and people come in, that's be protected. And this sheriff is doing everything he can to give them those assurances. He's going to be candid with them. He's going to always be fair with them. There won't be any of these old battles of the sheriff fighting the judges, which is a ridiculous battle. None of that's going to occur. He's going to work with them, and I think that they want to work with him. And in fact, I feel pretty confident that that's going to develop into a good relationship. Anything further? Well, listen, we really appreciate you guys taking interest in getting at the truth on some of these matters. I stand available to all of you to get you more information if you need it. All right? I'm yours. This is an open process. And I hope you understand that if there's certain limitations on what the sheriff can say to you in public. Yes, Mr. Tammy.
You handed out this 3-page document. This contract says what?
Oh, you want the entire contract?
No, but what does it say?
Oh, that is the I'm so glad.
You handed it out.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you so much for bringing that up. One of the issues has to do with this whole business of who has responsibility for transporting the offenders to their mental health care and medical health care. Well, the contract that I gave you is the most recent contract, recently signed by the mayor, and it says, the city is charged with the responsibility for administering, managing, and supervising the healthcare delivery system of the City Justice Center. All right? Nothing in there about the sheriff. Nothing. In fact, the 343-page document only mentions the sheriff as one of 4 or 5 offices that can be worked with when it comes to the transporting of offenders. So the city is already on record on this one. They've already taken their position. And I know why they took it, because and I don't have that opinion for you now, but I need to get it to you. The city attorney has a few years back already stated that this is the exclusive legal responsibility of the city. They know it, they've accepted their responsibility, they've contracted to it, and guess what? This is what's called a binding statement in a court of law. So if somebody seeks to deny it in this quo warranto, that's going to be in front of the judge. The city's signed statement. Yes, sir.
Why for 20 years after that did the sheriff provide transportation?
Repeat that again.
The opinion you're talking about from City Council's office from 2002 or 2004?
No, this is the most recent one. This is today. It was signed this year. Go ahead.
But it's assigning responsibility from the city attorney. That was like 20 years ago?
That's always been the situation.
I got that. So then why for 20 years after that was the sheriff's office?
Oh, I see. I thought I answered that question. I'm going to answer you directly. The prior sheriffs, particularly Sheriff Betts, they would take people who would normally be for building security and put them on these transportation details. Now, why? It's trying to be helpful. Now, until the CJC was built, a lot of that stuff was out at the, and I'll be perfectly frank with you, I'm not sure if the medical needs of defendants who were out at the old workhouse were appropriately managed anyway. But let's just say under the assumption that they were. You know, back then, you know, there was a lot of people who worked for the city who were out there. Sometimes the transport had been done by the city, but yeah, the sheriff's office did a lot of it, because I as a judge was very much witness to it. Now, why was that going on? Well, the judges came to learn that it was shifting responsibilities away from the courthouse. And they rightly demanded of the sheriff, and some of you covered the meeting, the court en banc meeting where the sheriff was there, where we brought this up and specifically demanded that safety and security in our buildings be covered. And I think each and last one of you made your stations. You interviewed me then as a judge, and I said safety and security in these buildings is job one. Always has been, is that now, and quite frankly, I don't see the legal authority, and we'll see it further down the line, of the Board of Aldermen to change that. So that's it. That's the lay of the land. So the only question is, how is it paid for? Now, if the positions are already funded, why in the world won't the positions simply be shifted to the sheriff so that inmates can be given reasonable and timely health care? That's the issue. Getting these poor guys who in there, they probably only can afford public defenders, they have nothing, they're facing these charges, and they need health care, and we need to make sure they get it. Well, here it is. Here it is. Let's just do it and do it right. I don't mean to shout at you guys, but that's the bottom line issue. I don't know if it was necessarily goodness, because you're asking me to get into the head of Sheriff Betts, all right? That's not the head I'm gonna try to get into, all right? All I know is that during all those years, the judges were concerned about the safety and security of the buildings. That's a fact. All I know is this sheriff has made sure that the buildings involved have appropriate security. That's a fact. Finally, all I know is it's going to take extra bodies, extra FTE to make sure that there's a good inmate transport unit under the sheriff's department. If the city doesn't want it to be under the sheriff's department, they got the FTEs to put it in the CJC. Problem solved. And I don't know how better to explain that to you.
I appreciate the explanation.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.